I'm recording this from a hospital room in Spokane, Washington. My left arm is in a cast. I have 17 stitches across my forehead. 3 of my ribs are cracked. The doctors say I'm lucky to be alive. The official police report says our tour group was attacked by a rogue grizzly bear. The insurance paperwork classifies it as a wildlife accident. And every single one of those official documents is a lie. Because what ambushed our group 3 weeks ago on that mountain road wasn't a bear. It was coordinated. It was deliberate. And what happened after, what they did to us, what they showed us, what they made us understand, has made me realize that everything we think we know about these creatures is wrong. They're not hiding from us because they're afraid. They're hiding from us because they're ashamed. Ashamed of what they have to do to survive. Ashamed of what humanity has forced them to become. Before I tell you what happened, you need to do something critical. Hit that like button immediately. Subscribe to this channel right now. But most importantly, and I cannot stress this enough, download this entire video the moment it finishes. Save it to multiple devices. Upload it to different platforms. Make physical copies if you can. Because what I'm about to share violates multiple non-disclosure agreements I was forced to sign from my hospital bed. There are people who don't want this story told. People with resources and legal authority who've made it very clear that speaking about this will result in consequences. I'm speaking anyway. Some truths are worth the cost. My name is Rachel Morrison. I'm 32 years old. I work as a freelance travel writer and photographer. 3 weeks ago, I was hired by Pacific Northwest Adventure Tours to document their ultimate wilderness experience, a 5-day guided tour through remote sections of the Cascade Mountains. The company specialized in extreme tourism, taking groups of wealthy thrill seekers into areas where most tour operators wouldn't go. Off-trail hiking, primitive camping, the kind of experience where you sign extensive liability waivers and acknowledge that rescue might not be possible if something goes wrong. Our group consisted of 11 people, 8 paying tourists, mostly tech executives from Seattle and San Francisco looking for authentic outdoor experiences. 2 guides, brothers named Kyle and Derek Mathis, who'd been operating in these mountains for over 15 years. And me, the photographer hired to capture content for their website and promotional materials. We were 3 days into the trip when it happened. October 21st. We'd hiked about 12 miles that day, following old logging roads and game trails into a section of the North Cascades that Kyle said hadn't seen human presence in over a decade. The terrain was rough, dense old-growth forest, steep ravines, creek crossings that required careful navigation. Perfect for the kind of clients who paid $5,000 for bragging rights about their wilderness adventures. We made camp around 4 p.m. in a clearing beside a seasonal creek. The weather was clear, temperature dropping as evening approached. Standard protocol: set up tents, establish a cooking area, hang food bags away from camp to avoid attracting bears. Kyle and Derek had done this hundreds of times. Everything was routine. Around 6 p.m., while we were preparing dinner, Kyle noticed something wrong. The forest had gone quiet, completely quiet. No birds, no squirrels, no sound except the creek and our own voices. He exchanged a look with Derek that I caught on camera. Concern, recognition, like they'd experienced this before. "Everyone stay in camp," Kyle announced. "Don't wander off." Something spooked the wildlife. One of the tourists, a guy named Brandon who'd spent the entire trip complaining about the lack of Wi-Fi, laughed. "What, you think Bigfoot is coming for us?" Kyle didn't laugh. "Just stay in camp." The sun set around 7 p.m. We ate dinner by firelight, the tourists telling stories and making jokes, the guides notably quiet. I kept filming, capturing what I thought would be atmospheric footage of wilderness camping. Around 8 p.m., Derek stood up and walked to the edge of the clearing, scanning the tree line with his flashlight. "Kyle," he called out, "we've got movement." Everyone went quiet. Kyle grabbed his rifle, he always carried one for bear protection, and joined his brother at the clearing's edge. I followed with my camera, night vision capability activated. Through the viewfinder, I saw what they were looking at. Shapes moving through the trees. Large shapes. Multiple shapes. Circling our camp. That's not normal bear behavior, Derek said quietly. They're coordinating. How many do you count? At least 4. Maybe more. They're staying just outside the firelight range. One of the tourists, a woman named Jennifer, joined us. What's out there? We're not sure, Kyle said. But everyone needs to move to the center of camp. Now, stay together. Stay near the fire. We retreated to the fire pit, the 11 of us clustering together, while Kyle and Derek kept watch on the perimeter. The shapes continued circling, never coming close enough to see clearly, but making their presence obvious. Showing us we were surrounded. Showing us they had control of the situation. This went on for maybe 20 minutes. The tourists were getting scared, asking questions the guides couldn't answer. Then suddenly, the shapes stopped moving. Complete stillness from all directions. The forest went even quieter, if that was possible. Just the crackling of our fire and the creak and our own breathing. Then we heard it. A vocalization. Deep, resonant, unlike anything I'd ever heard. Not a bear. Not a wolf. Not any cataloged animal. It came from multiple directions simultaneously. A coordinated call that echoed through the forest. And it was clearly communication. Clearly intentional. Clearly directed at us. Oh my God, Jennifer whispered. What is that? Kyle's hands tightened on his rifle. Everyone stay calm. Derek, secure the food bags. Now. But Derek didn't move. He was staring at something past the firelight. Kyle. They're here. They emerged into the clearing simultaneously from 3 directions. 8 of them. Massive bipedal figures, 7 to 8 feet tall, covered in dark fur. They moved with coordinated precision, spreading out to cut off all escape routes. And they weren't approaching randomly. They were executing a planned maneuver. An ambush. The tourists started screaming. Kyle raised his rifle, but Derek grabbed his arm. Don't. You shoot one, they'll tear us apart. There's too many. What the hell are they? You know what they are. And we all did, really. We'd all seen the documentaries, heard the stories, dismissed them as folklore. But folklore doesn't move with military precision. Folklore doesn't coordinate ambushes. Folklore doesn't stand 8 feet tall with intelligence gleaming in eyes that catch firelight. The largest, one stepped forward. He was massive, easily 8.5 feet, built like he could snap trees in half. He made a sound. Not threatening, exactly. More like announcing. Establishing dominance. Making it clear who controlled this situation. Then he did something that made my blood run cold. He pointed at our food bags hanging from a tree branch 30 feet away. And he made a gesture. Bring it down. Clear. Unmistakable. He wasn't just taking our food. He was demanding we give it to him. He wants the food, I said, still filming despite my shaking hands. He's asking for the food. They don't ask, Kyle said. They take. Then why hasn't he taken it? Why the display? Why surround us first? Derek lowered his rifle slowly. Because they want us to understand something. This isn't random. This is... He paused, processing. This is a message. I need you to stop here and comment. Tell me what you would have done in that situation. Would you have given them the food? Tried to negotiate? Attempted to fight? Because what we decided in that moment determined whether we lived or died. And what happened after we made that decision changed everything I thought I understood about intelligence and survival, and the terrible choices species make when they're desperate. Comment now. Kyle looked at his brother. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Then Kyle lowered his rifle completely. Derek, lower the food bags. All of them. Kyle, that's 5 days of supplies. Lower them. Now. Derek moved to the rope system, started lowering the bags. The large creature watched, made another sound, approval, I thought. When the bags reached the ground, 2 smaller ones moved forward quickly and grabbed them. They didn't run. Just backed away with the food, maintaining eye contact, making sure we understood this was controlled. This was intentional. But they didn't leave. They just stood there at the clearing's edge, holding our food bags, watching us. Waiting for something. Why aren't they leaving? Jennifer asked, her voice shaking. Because they're not done, Derek said quietly. This isn't just about food. The large one made another sound. More complex this time. Multiple syllables with clear inflection. Then he gestured again, this time pointing at our tents. Then pointing at himself. Then making a sweeping motion toward the forest. What's he saying? Brandon asked, panic in his voice. I watched through my camera viewfinder, analyzing the gestures. I think he wants us to leave the camp. He wants us to follow him. That's insane. We're not going anywhere with them. But Kyle was staring at the creature with an expression I couldn't read. Derek, remember what Dad told us? About the rules. About what they do when they take food. That was just a story. Look at them. Does this look like just a story? Derek shook his head slowly. Dad said if they ever took food, you had to follow. Had to see why. Had to understand. Or they'd take more than food next time. What the hell are you talking about? Brandon demanded. What rules? Kyle ignored him, still watching the creature. If we follow, you let us leave after? You let us go. The creature made a sound that might have been affirmation. Then he turned and started walking into the forest. The others backed away slowly, giving us space but clearly expecting us to follow. Everyone grab your packs, Kyle ordered. Leave the tents. Take only what you can carry. We're following them. The protests were immediate. Half the group refused to move. Brandon was shouting about suing the company. Jennifer was crying. But Kyle and Derek made it clear. We either followed as a group or the creatures would make us follow. At least this way, we maintained some control. So we followed. 11 humans walking through dark forest, following 8 Bigfoot specimens who'd just ambushed our camp and stolen our food. It should have felt like a death march. Instead, it felt like an invitation. They moved slowly enough for us to keep up. They maintained clear positions, some ahead, some behind, some on the flanks. Not hurting us exactly, but guiding us. Making sure we stayed together and stayed on the path they wanted us to follow. We walked for maybe 45 minutes, through terrain that was rough, hard to navigate in darkness even with flashlights. But they knew the way, moved confidently through areas that looked impassable to us. And gradually, I started noticing things. Signs that we weren't in random wilderness. Signs that this area was inhabited, used regularly, protected. We reached a ravine. Not naturally formed, it had been modified. Trees had been deliberately positioned to create barriers. Rocks had been arranged in ways that channeled water. There were structures, lean-tos made from woven branches, windbreaks that showed sophisticated construction, storage areas that were clearly designed for specific purposes. This wasn't wilderness. This was a settlement, a community, and in that community, there were more of them. Maybe 20, maybe 30. Different sizes, different ages, including young ones, including what had to be infants being carried by their mothers. We'd been brought to a Bigfoot village, to see how they lived, to understand why they'd taken our food. The large one who'd led us here made a complex vocalization. Several others responded. Then he turned to face us and did something that made my hands shake so badly I almost dropped my camera. He spoke in English. Labored, difficult, but unmistakable English. You see, he said, each word clearly painful to form. You see why. You see what you do. To us. Kyle stepped forward slowly. What we do. We didn't do anything. You're kind. You develop. You build. You take forest. You push us smaller. Smaller. Less space. Less food. We starve. Or we take from you. Those are only choices. You made this. You forced this. He gestured to the settlement around us. To the lean-tos that were crude but functional. To the storage areas that were clearly insufficient. To the young ones who looked thin, malnourished. We hide for generations. Take only what forest gives. Live in balance. But forest gets smaller. Human development gets bigger. We are pushed back, 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 until there is nowhere to go. No food enough. So we must take from you, or watch our children die. Derek made a sound that might have been understanding. You're showing us why you steal supplies, why you raid camps. You're starving. We've taken so much of your habitat that you can't survive without our food. Yes, we take to survive, not because we want, because we must, because you left us no choice, and we are ashamed. The way he said that last word, ashamed, it carried weight, carried genuine emotion. These creatures weren't proud predators. They were desperate refugees in their own forest, reduced to stealing from the species that had stolen their home. Tonight, he continued, we show you. So you understand. So when we take food, you know why. So maybe you tell others. Maybe you help. Maybe you stop. Stop taking more forest. Stop pushing us into nothing. One of the females approached, carrying an infant that couldn't have been more than a few months old. The baby was crying, a sound that was disturbingly similar to human infant cries. The mother's face showed exhaustion, desperation, fear. She cannot make enough milk, the male explained. Not enough food for her. So she cannot feed baby. Baby will die. Or we take from you. Those are only options. You created this. You and your kind. Jennifer was crying openly now. We didn't know. We didn't know you were here, that you were starving. You did not look, did not care. Saw forest as empty space. To develop, to use. Did not ask who lives here. Did not care what happened to beings who called this home for millions of years. He gestured to the settlement again. This is all that remains. Of thousands. Now we are few. Maybe 300 in all forests. Getting fewer. Because forest gets smaller. Because food gets less. Because you take everything. Soon we will be gone. Memory. Story. Nothing more. Kyle was shaking. What can we do? How can we help? Tell truth. Tell what you saw. Tell that we exist. That we suffer. That when camps lose food is not random. Is not mystery. Is us. Taking to survive. Because you left us no choice. Tell this. Maybe people listen. Maybe people care. Maybe people stop. Stop taking more forest. They'll hunt you, Derek said quietly. If people know you exist, they'll come. With guns. With traps. With scientists who want to study you. We know. We accept. Because other option is die in silence. Die in hiding. Our children starve while no one knows. No one cares. Better to be known. To be hunted. Than to disappear with no one knowing we were here. That we suffered. That we died because humans took everything. He made another vocalization. The others started backing away, melting into the darkness. He watched them go, then turned back to us. You go now. Back to your world. You tell or you do not. That is your choice. But you have seen. You know truth. Cannot unsee. Cannot unhear. Truth stays with you. What you do with truth that defines who you are. Wait, I said, stepping forward with my camera. The footage I've recorded. Of you speaking. Of this place of everything. Show it. Share it. That is why we let you film. That is why we revealed. So there is proof. So people must believe. So they cannot dismiss. Show everything. Tell everything. That is what we ask. Only thing we ask. He started to turn away, then paused. One more thing. The food we took is enough for 10 days. For us. We could have killed you. Taken everything. Could have made you disappear. Like others before you. But we did not. Because we are not monsters. We are desperate. There is difference. Remember that. Remember we chose mercy. Even when starving. Even when your kind shows us no mercy. Remember that when you tell story. Then he was gone. Vanished into darkness with the same silence they'd approached with. And we stood in that ravine for maybe 10 minutes, just processing what we'd witnessed. What we'd been shown. What we'd been asked to do. Derek led us back to our camp. They'd left it intact, taken only the food. We spent a cold, hungry night there, rationing what little we had in our personal packs. In the morning, we hiked out. It took 2 days to reach the nearest road, where we were picked up by the tour company's emergency vehicle. The debriefing was immediate and intensive. Company lawyers, insurance investigators, local authorities. They examined our injuries. Yes, there were injuries. I'd hit my head when I stumbled following them through the forest. Kyle had fallen crossing a creek and cracked his ribs. Derek had been scratched by branches. Minor injuries that could easily be attributed to panic and difficult terrain. They told us the official story would be a bear attack, that claiming anything else would destroy the company, open them to liability, make us look unstable. They produced non-disclosure agreements. They made it clear that speaking about what really happened would result in legal action. Most of the group signed without argument. They wanted to forget, wanted to return to their comfortable lives, where Bigfoot was folklore and wilderness was just empty space for recreation. But 3 of us kept copies of everything. The footage I'd shot, sent to cloud storage in real time via satellite uplink before they could confiscate my equipment. The audio recordings Derek had made. The GPS coordinates Kyle had marked. And now I'm releasing it. All of it. The footage of the ambush. The recording of him speaking. The images of their settlement. The proof that they exist, that they're starving, that they're desperate enough to steal from humans because we've left them no alternatives. I know what's coming. Legal threats. Attempts to discredit me. Claims that the footage is manipulated or staged. But the evidence is here. Distributed to multiple locations. Encrypted. Time-stamped. Independently verifiable by experts who know how to analyze video and audio for authenticity. What shocked me most wasn't that Bigfoot exists. What shocked me was learning why they steal. Why they raid camps and take supplies and cause incidents that get classified as unexplained wildlife activity. They're not mysterious forest monsters. They're refugees in their own habitat. Beings who've been pushed to the edge of extinction by human development and are making the desperate choice to take from us or watch their children starve. He said they're ashamed. Ashamed of what they have to do to survive. Ashamed that they've been reduced to stealing. But they chose to reveal themselves anyway. Chose to show us the truth. Because dying in silence while we remain ignorant is worse than being hunted while the truth is known. That's what the ambush was really about. Not attacking us, teaching us, showing us why certain areas of wilderness need to be protected, why development into their remaining habitat is a death sentence for species we don't acknowledge exist, why conservation matters even when we can't see or prove what we're conserving. Hit that like button one final time. Subscribe to this channel. Download this video immediately and preserve it however you can. Share the footage. Analyze it. Let experts examine it. Because what happened to our tour group 3 weeks ago wasn't just an ambush. It was a plea for help delivered by beings desperate enough to reveal themselves even knowing the risks. They exist. They're starving. They're stealing to survive. And they're asking us to stop taking what little forest they have left before it's too late for them. That's what followed the ambush. That's what changed everything. And that's what I'm sharing now, regardless of the consequences. My name is Rachel Morrison. I was ambushed by Bigfoot along with 10 other people in the Cascade Mountains. And what they showed us, what they told us, has made me realize that every unexplained food disappearance, every raided camp, every mysterious wildlife incident in remote wilderness might not be mysterious at all. It might just be desperate parents trying to feed their children in a world where we've taken everything else. That's the truth they shared. That's the message they asked us to deliver. And now I've delivered it. What we do with that truth defines who we are as a species.